Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's David Palmer, Leo King, and I am here at the High Vibe TV Lounge, and I'm actually here with Maya, who's behind camera right now, and she has some cool astrology questions that I'm going to answer, and we're going to throw them out there. Maybe it'll help you, maybe it won't. What's going on, Maya?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Gorgeous.
What do we got going on?
Okay, well, I have a question about how current transits would affect people applying for jobs. So if you were to apply to a job or send out your resume, what are some transits impacting my chart that would help achieve best results or bad results?
Wow, that's a very good question. It's a loaded question, but it's a good one, especially about what transits for people in their career life, their work life. One is, I would always say, you have to look at, are you really in a place to where it's about work right now in your life? So a good example would be to use the nodes first. So I always go by sun sign first, and then I go by rising sign. So for sun sign, the north node is in Gemini right now, and the south node's in Sag. So by your sun sign, is it really time for you to go for your work? The signs right now that work is going to be the hardest would be with the south node being in Sag, being in the 10th house or the 6th house. So Pisces right now, time to get their home straight and their foundation straight. Not the best time probably for work, and to realize you'll probably be taken care of or chilled out, and so to chill out about work. And then the second sign for that would be Cancers. Cancers right now, the work has to be done in their spiritual self right now to make sure that they're in the right place in alignment with spiritually. But the signs that are the best right now for work and for going for work would be Virgos, the opposite of Pisces, and then opposite of Cancer would be Capricorns, right? Because the north node's in Gemini, so it's where the north is. So even though it might feel funny with the nodes, because the south nodes, so Pisces probably feel like right now is their time to go do everything in the world right now, and then the same thing with Cancer would be like, I need to stay busy, I need to be doing a bunch of work, I need to be in that aspect. But then you've also got Virgos who are probably like, well, it'd be nice to chill, I've already done so much work, now I gotta go work. And then when you got the other ones, right, you got Capricorns who are like, I always work, and now I gotta stay busy. It's like, no, it's time to change your reality and do the work, because you're obviously in a place that kind of feels a little lost. So that's one way. The other way would be like Saturn transits, and looking at your own Saturn in your chart, and seeing other hard aspects to Saturn. Sometimes hard aspects are good to Saturn. It forces you to get to work. It might feel blocks, but it's maybe like your own perspective of the road is wrong, and you got to do that hard work to find that other road. Also looking as if, you're really in a place in your life where, if you look at different transits, like, you got a lot of Capricorn right now. We got Jupiter, we got Pluto meeting, and then Saturn coming back. So what house is that in? So you can use this as a kind of a basic thing, where you can actually go like, oh my gosh. Like, we'll use me for example. I've got Jupiter and Pluto and my 5th house, and I've had Pluto through there since its inception into Capricorn in 2008, right? So I've been just doing the things I love for work, and it's been growing and transforming my life and building. And now that Jupiter's here, oh my gosh, it just keeps growing. And then with Saturn that went through there, it was a lot of hard work for the last couple of years. Now it's in my 6th house, which is really good. That's me, really. I'm busy, I'm working, but I'm also learning to get my schedule. Now you're in my life, right? Or, Ann's here, your mom, and I got Craig, and I've got all, so there's that whole 6th house element. But it's going to retrograde back, and it's going to come right on the line in my 6th house, 5th house cusp. So it's really about doing what I love and figuring out how to make the best alterations to that. But if like you had a bunch of Capricorn, if you're an Aquarius rising or an Aquarius in your 12th house, it might be that you need to pursue more spirituality now, or you must be doing much more spiritual. Maybe if your moon is even in Capricorn, right, like you'd want to do, or in Aquarius, you'd want to do more spiritual stuff emotionally. So you can use it for all three, the sun, the moon, the rising. So I would look at like those things. It's of course hard when we don't have somebody's chart in front of us, But we can look at it kind of in that way.
Cool. Shall we do another question?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I guess going off same thing, sort of related to jobs. Are there any things you can look for in your chart or transits that would show what career might be best for you, or where you're headed or leaning for in careers?
Based off of what you're born with?
Yeah.
Well, 10th house stuff is always going to be a big deal, of course, but that's a little hard because sometimes people get lost in the whole idea of job. 6th house to me is more jobs, like you filling a position into the workforce and kind of turning it out, because the Virgin, the 6th house, has to deal with a woman in the fields picking wheat. So that's a job, right? And her job is to be in the purity of that. 10th house is trophies, awards, corporations, businesses. And so it's also major goals that you're setting to achieve. So some people choose a job just to have a job. I want to make money and I want to do that. That's 6th house. So if you have a lot of 6th house stuff, sometimes you'll just take jobs and just live in jobs, right? 10th house stuff is always going to be like, you know what? I want a little bit more than a job. I want a job to be doing something, that I'm achieving something. And sometimes I can get caught up in like where people want to do, like, let's say, whether it's organizations or whether they want to maybe do a nonprofit. That's not really 10th house stuff. That's kind of 11th house stuff. And there's quincunxes there because it's a job, but it's really not. But it's also helping people, but you're not supposed to really, like, you know, get any accolades for it because you're supposed to be doing it from just a pure space. So those are the things that you want to look at in your chart. Do you have anything in your 10th house? Which would be at the top of your chart, of course. And follow those planets. If you have nothing there and you have nothing in the 6th house, it doesn't mean you're not supposed to do work. But you'd want to know where your Saturn is. And you'd want to know where your Mars is. Because your Mars is your identity and your drive, and Saturn. And what signs are those in? Because if you have those in certain signs, they might be really driven towards the kind of work that you should be doing. Like if somebody had Mars in, let's say, Pisces, right, like you have right now, and they were out having to do repetitive work in a space where they couldn't ever dream, or they couldn't have a little break, or they couldn't deal with the sensitivities, you know, that's not going to be a good place for them. They're going to need a place where they can have breaks, where they can chill out a little bit, where there's an imagination for them, because that's good. That's what's going to drive them in their life. Somebody at Saturn in, let's say, I don't know, Gemini, might be a little scary to take a job at first to do communications, maybe at a newspaper or maybe at like a media outlet, but you know, you'd probably overcome it because you would be taking it. So actually where Saturn is a great place to know what you do for your work, but it's where you have to go over the hump because you're going to be scared of it and you're going to restrict yourself from it, and we tend to be scared of growing up into whatever that is. So there's so much to it, of course, but look at that 10th house, look at that 6th house, and then look at the rulers of those, which if you don't know what that means, all you do is you look at your natal chart, and don't use CoStar because they're not going to help you with that, because you want to know the degrees, and you also want to know the actual house that it's ruled by, because CoStar doesn't do that. They'll just give you house numbers, but they won't actually tell you that that house number is this sign. So you're going to want to use astro.com. It's free. Run an extended chart. So let's say, what are you again? Your Sag rising, right? Or your Sag moon and your Pisces rising. So your 6th house for Pisces rising, because if you're Pisces rising, you're going to want to just count the 6 houses from there. So your 2nd house is Aries. Your 3rd house is going to be Taurus, and so on and so on. So 4th house is always going to be Gemini stuff for Pisces rising. When you get to that 6th house, you just go, oh, it's Leo. So Leo is going to be the ruler of the sun, because that's the ruler of Leo. So where's your sun and what house is it in? That's going to define the kind of jobs, routines, and works that you're going to do best. When it comes to your 10th house ruler, because you are Pisces rising, that's going to be Sag. So you want to find your Jupiter, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And where's the Jupiter in your chart? What sign is it in? Which house it is? And that's going to give you more understandings of what's the best for you.
So it kind of ties into chart rulers too?
Yeah, chart rulers are, I would say, one of the biggest parts of all astrology. That the reason why I tell people, and I love CoStar, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to talk crap on CoStar, but there's missing so much, right? And people really want data and they want to understand their life better. And chart rulers are going to tell you more about each sign than any other part of astrology. So like we'll use Pisces rising, for example, or Pisces, right? Why would Pisces have their third house be Taurus? Because Pisces are sensitive people, so before they speak, they want to make sure it's the best thing spoken. So it's not that they're shy. It's just that that's more like they're shy about things that they don't feel confident that they're going to say something that it's going to be valued. Right? Third house, Taurus, right? Or if they take their eighth house of their passions and their desires, it's going to be, because their opposite would be Virgo, seventh house. After Virgo comes Libra. So when it comes to their desires, it has to be beautiful. And that's why they're dreamers, right? That their desires are these beautiful dreams. Because Libra is about beauty and the sunset and in relationships even. Or, there's like this, that's their drive and that's their depth. That's where they get deep too, is through people that they can trust. Because eighth house is trust, but then you add it with Libra. It's people they trust is when you fully see a Pisces. Or a Pisces rising. They don't reveal it to people that they don't trust or that they don't know deep, right? So that's how you understand all the zodiac signs, is actually through the rulers of all the houses.
So that's more important, really, than anything else. So if you're looking at a chart and you're a beginner, you should look at your chart ruler.
100%. Because so a good example is the main chart ruler. There's different ways to find your chart ruler through different ways, but I just go a very old kind of more, I guess you could call it like a medieval way. So a good example is if you're Pisces rising, for example, what's the ruler of Pisces? Its original was Jupiter, but it's Neptune now. So where's the Neptune in your chart? That's the ruler of your chart. When your Neptune's being hit, you're going to feel it more than sometimes, like CoStar or anybody's going to say, or some, Instagram or Twitter astrologer will throw something out there and look at your chart and be like, oh my gosh, you got this planet coming into here. Well, it might be, you'd be like, I didn't really feel much. Mm-hmm. But I can guarantee when something hits your Neptune intensely, because Pisces is the ruler of your chart, because you are a Pisces rising and Neptune's the ruler of Pisces, that Neptune is everything that you want to make sure. Oh, am I coming into waters where the ruler is getting hit hard? Ooh! So that's like your main planet. So for everybody else, it's just understanding all the planets. Aries is Mars, of course. Taurus is Venus and stuff. So, and you have to use the rising for that.
Very cool. Do you want to do another question, or?
We'll finish with one more, yeah. We're going to be doing a cooler show, but actually, today didn't work out the way we wanted it to, but we're going with it this way.
How about talking about returns, like planetary returns? What are some examples for, younger people when they turn 18, that's their nodal return? Like, how does that affect you, and what are the different kinds, and why should we pay attention to them?
Really good question. All planetary returns or nodal returns are important because it's going to stamp the energy. Like, imagine astrology as like an old Polaroid camera where you just take the picture and the picture comes out. That's what a chart is you take a snapshot of the planets from our Earth point of view. So when your birthday comes, which is the whole reason we have a birthday, is from astrology. Think about it. The day we're born is the day that the sun has returned back to the same position it was from our view from Earth. So a solar return is important because of the fact that we run the planets at the exact moment that the sun returns. So it's not just on your birthday. A lot of people go, oh, it's midnight, it's my birthday. But sometimes, like in this year, like in 2020, or when we have a leap year, right? Sometimes your birthday's the day before your birthday, or sometimes the day after, or sometimes the day on. It just depends on really where we're at, because we have to keep adjusting our calendar system to meet a 360-degree universe. So we have 365 days, which is 24 hours, which is actually not the way that the universe works. So a solar return is going to be the exact degrees and minute using geometry of, like, if you're born with like the sun at 5 degrees and 22 minutes, it'll say, like in your chart, guess what? The second the sun's back at 5 minutes and 22 degrees of the sign you were born in, boom, you run all the planets, and you even run what's the rising and what everything is, and that's a snapshot of what your year looks like from your solar basis. Like, this is the year. 1 year chart, because solar is 1 year. Mars return chart is going to be a 2-year chart about your Mars. And it's always like in patterns with Mars, because of course the patterns of the 2-year retrogrades and stuff, when you get to your own planet of Mars when it retrogrades, that's always going to be a major one. So like, for me, I had mine in 2016 with the Mars retrograde in Scorpio, and in 2016, I'm 32 years old. So at 32 years old, that's always a big Mars return to pay attention to. Or the nodal returns, like you said, at 18. That's a big one because people come out of high school, they have a nodal return, and you got to follow where the node is in your chart. Because if you go the opposite direction, it won't be good. You almost like get off the wrong footing and go in the wrong direction in your life. I know because my nodal return was in Gemini, and I was 18, and I joined the military, and my south node is in Sag with Uranus, and I really wanted to go break free from the house, right? I wanted to be a rebel and go out into the military, and I didn't want to live in the same city I grew up in, and I went on this big adventure, the Navy, and it was Metallica songs like do-do-do-do-do, and the planes dropping down, and got there and didn't go too well for me. It was chaotic, and actually it was very, very intense, and the war started right when I was in boot camp. So it was like I followed my south node, not my north node, which would have been like, gosh, I'll be honest, I tried to find the easy cop out of life. Like, what's an easier route than going to school or finding a job that I didn't like? Like, well, the military is pretty easy, and I know some people might think that's not, but it was easy for me. Like, I just tried to find the easier route. It was like, oh, I can have money and a car and my own place and serve the country and get out of my town and I'm out of here, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that stuff's really important. Like, what house is that north node in? What sign is it in? And where's that south node? Because that south node is going to be aiming in a direction that you go there, you're not going to find what you're looking for. It's going to turn crazy for some people, depending if you have planets on that south node. It'll play those planets out. And then the north node is where it's going to seem harder and seem like you're kind of like, I don't know am I stupid to do this? It's like, or it just feels like it's too hard to do that when it's not. When you get over the fact it's hard and you go do it, you get rewarded. So, the main ones are the solar return, nodal returns are big, but the lunar return, I would attend this, would be the lunar, because with a lunar, it's every month. And so when the moon returns exactly back to the place you was when you were born, that's your monthly snapshot. Like, I'm going to be going through this month. And you can look up how many cycles, especially I think astro.com will at least show you how many cycles the moon has done in your life, right? But and so it'll run like cycle 390, cycles, months or whatever. But what's interesting is like that moon, when it's under stress, you're going to want to pay attention to that. You want to pay attention to what is the rising and the rulers of that chart for that moon. When it's the solar, it's about the sun. So you get a month chart and you get a year chart, and then you get other charts like, okay, think about the nodes too. There's something to say about when that nodal return happens, like you're thinking about the next 18, 19 years of your life, because that's when the next one will happen. It lasts for that long. And you want to see when the nodal return happens, where are you going to be in your life, and you want to kind of think for that 18-month cycle. Do you want to, and how funny, so I had my nodal return, and I was in the military 18 months. And I got kicked out and went to prison, and it was gnarly. So I didn't follow it right, and now here I am in mine again, and I'm following my north node. I'm doing my business. I'm doing 10th house Gemini, being a speaker for my career, and it's with Chiron, and being vulnerable and being exposing and healing using astrology and doing, spiritual things, as opposed to south node in the 4th. That's the hard part for me too, is like going and trying to build a family with kids and all that stuff. Like, that's not what I was supposed to do out of high school. So at least I followed that part of it. So sometimes it could be like, you got to look at how many parts of it are you following. The more you can get where you're not following it, the more you'll see success in your life. Yeah, well, thanks for being here, and thanks for the questions, and thank you all out there, of course. We're going to be doing some more cool stuff here, and appreciate you listening. If you have questions, put them down here on the comment box down below here on YouTube. Make sure that you push that subscribe button and push the bell so you can get more bells, because now that I have Maya here, and we've got the studios pumping again, lots of videos coming out. See you later.